Have you ever tried to make new friends as an adult? It seems like a basic skill that we should have, but the more clients I talk to, the more friends I talk to, the more of a challenge people are having. We live in a very connected world, and I'm using air quotes if you're listening to this because one might think that we're super connected being online all the time. But the stories that are out there, the studies that are coming out, lead us to believe that we are in an increasing loneliness epidemic. And I can relate, if you have a kid, if you are changing locations, it can become harder and harder to make new friends. And I wanted to share something that I did and a conversation that I had with a family member. And hopefully this helps you as you are trying to meet new people, or maybe you're moving, or maybe you're just starting fresh and looking for some fresh energy. Well, here's the thing. When we are kids, we make friends because we live in the same neighborhood. We go to the same school. We play on the same sports teams. We do similar activities. Our parents might be friends with each other. But as we get older, that starts to change. We might go to different high schools. We might go to different colleges. We might grow out of those relationships because we have different interests and we become different people. And some of those sheddings and breakups can be really painful. If you've ever felt like you were on the outs of a friend group or you've been the odd person out, it's really painful. And in fact, in your brain, that social rejection feels the same as physical pain. I might as well just punch you in the face, except it stays with you. Now, smash cut to being an adult. I'm 42, turning 43 next month. And I myself have gone through many iterations of friend groups. In fact, I just had a recent, not even falling out, it was just kind of like, we have nothing in common anymore. And this has happened many times as I've learned more about myself and what I want in my life. This has become harder and harder, moving every couple of years as well. And there are some friendships that I've maintained, but there have been others that have felt like I'm not really sure what we have in common anymore or why we're spending time together. This feels kind of like a chore. And so before I left the DC area, I remember speaking to a family member who's older, like, well beyond retired age, and their friends are passing away. It's lonely. They have their routines, they go and do things, but there's nothing to look forward to. There's no person to go and do those activities with. And I said, well, you know what I realized about people is that everyone is looking for someone to instigate an invitation. And what if you could be that person? And immediately the light bulb went off and they're like, you know what? I can invite this person to lunch. I can invite them to coffee. And then I can see if they're interested in doing this activity and going for a bike ride or going on a road trip or anything else. But if we don't instigate that invitation, if we don't put ourselves out there and expose ourselves a little bit, we're just waiting for someone else to do it. And the odds of that happening are pretty slim to none, because if you have any experience from your past of being rejected, of people not coming to a party, of not being at the cool kids table, you remember that. And so you have to kind of push past that discomfort of what if they say no, or what if it doesn't go well? Well, you don't know unless you try. And here's the thing, every interaction is practice. Every time you ask someone to coffee, anytime you ask someone to go on an activity, maybe the dates don't work, maybe you find a different date. But if you don't try, you don't know. And in fact, actually, if you don't try, you do know what your outcome is. You know that you're never going to have it. And so I would say, go to the hubs where people are. Where are people volunteering? Where are they congregating? Where are, potential neighbors just kind of hanging out, doing yard work or whatever? How do you strike up that conversation and ask them if they want to do something? Now, I'll bring myself up because this literally just happened. I'm coming back from a coffee date. So we just moved to our neighborhood 3 weeks ago. And last week I was driving with my daughter in the car because she was homesick from school. And I saw a sign that said therapy and coaching. And I thought, I need to meet that business owner, because whether or not we work together, it could be an opportunity to refer business out. It could be an opportunity to build up just the business community in Colorado Springs, or to refer me out to other people in the similar industry. So I went to their website, looked up the owner, reached out on LinkedIn, and sent a message, said, hey, this might sound weird, but I'm 2 blocks away. I saw your sign, was wondering if you'd want to have coffee next week. And they responded. They sent me your number. We coordinated it, and we just had an hour-long coffee chat. Now, who knows what's going to come from that? But we had a great conversation, and that never would have happened if I didn't take that first step. She has no idea I'm here. She doesn't know who I am. And she probably, no skin off her back if she meets me or not. But I am in a place where building that community is important, where putting myself out there and making friends with people is important. We are social beings. Do I need to have coffee with someone every day? No, but maybe once every couple of weeks. Awesome. And so you don't know unless you try. And I see this come up more and more because we don't know how to make friends, even in the workplace. And I would say, actually, don't make friends with your coworkers. Be friendly until you establish that trust barrier. Because when we show all our cards too fast, it actually breaks down the trust because it's like there's no boundary there on what's appropriate or not. So we have become accustomed to, oh, I work with this person and now we become friends, versus it being, I'm friendly with this person. I really am interested in learning more about them. So have boundaries based on the functions of your life. And if you spend all your time at work, I would encourage you to go sign up for a hike, for some sort of activity that you're interested in, because you never know who you might meet. In fact, this past weekend, we were at the climbing gym and met another family, and who knows what's going to come from that. There's an exchange of numbers. But again, you don't know unless you try. You don't know unless you put yourself into those spaces to have those potential interactions. So if you don't know where to start, make a list of the things that you're interested in. If it's in the wellness space, where are some meditations or yoga classes you could go to? If it's more sports driven, what are some adult leagues, or where do people play? Like there's a community center right by us where they play pickleball, and I'll probably hit that up later this week. If it's something that's industry related, or if it's something that's adjacent to the work that you're doing, maybe it's an association event, maybe it's a networking event, but make it a point to make this a priority, whether it's once a month or once a quarter, but just something that you have to look forward to mix things up, because people aren't just going to show up at your doorstep and say, let's be friends. And if they did, it's probably a little weird. I'd have some red flags there, but you've got to be intentional in the prioritization of making friends. It needs to be a concerted effort, because if you're on autopilot, you are basically like receiving and having to filter out versus you being the driving force. And you need to be the intentional invitation setter. You need to be the one casting the net, welcoming people in, creating those parameters, because I don't know if you know this, most people aren't good at making friends. So you've got to set that tone. So I would really encourage you to do that. And I want to know how it goes, because I am like on a quest of making adult friends. And I want to know if this works or if it's just me, if I'm like the weirdo that just reaches out to people on LinkedIn and actually like goes and meets them in real life. So try this out. Let me know how it goes. Let me know what's not working, because we can tweak it a little bit and I can hopefully shoot some ideas over that could be a little bit more helpful. But let's make more adult friends. Let's build our community. Let's build our network. And y'all keep being awesome.